So the state autopsy has ruled that a black man found hanging in an abandoned Alabama home in late September died by suicide. A conclusion that contradicts a private autopsy commissioned by his family, which found no definitive evidence he died by suicide. Let's stop there for 1 second. This is shows you what the family was thinking. They literally had to get a private autopsy done because they didn't believe a damn word that the state-sponsored autopsy had said. I wouldn't have either. That was a smart thing. Get a private autopsy done. And if they're coming to a different conclusion, well, there's something there. There's something going on. There's something afoot. Let's continue. Since Dennoriss Richardson's body was discovered in September in a rural Colbert County, far from his home in Sheffield, Alabama, a small town of nearly 10,000 nestled along the Tennessee River. A state autopsy released to law enforcement in late December ruled the 39-year-old's death a suicide, right? That was from Sheriff Valentine. Despite the state's official findings, the case has sparked intense suspicion and outcry in the community, along with a long history of racial injustice and deep-seated distrust of local law enforcement. You know, so one of the things that I talk about, one of the things that I always mention about being Black in America is that it feels like we're an endangered species. And every single time people like me talk about it, there's always that one person that comes in that'll say things, that'll say something to the effect of, you think you're oppressed, but you're not. History proves them wrong. But a lot of times, people will basically tell you that they're wrong from their perspective, when in reality smacks them in the face. I want to go to the original stream where I actually did talk about this. And I said that I smelt foul play. And this was an issue where I think that people should take what has happened with people should look at what happened and see that, you know, this is more than just a coincidence, at least in my eyes. Wow, that definitely was heavier. Okay, let's get into it. So I had this stream and I said I smell foul play. Let's get into it. These don't fall on deaf ears. So this is out of the root. What just happened here? Okay. It says disabled Alabama Black man was found hanging from a tree. His family believes police were involved. The blurb says the family of Dennoriss Richardson alleges Alabama police were behind his hanging. Yes. In the year of our Lord 2024, we are still talking about Black men being lynched. Remember, I talked about Black men being mysteriously murdered a few weeks ago. And yet this still keeps happening. But America's not a racist country. Let's get into it, shall we? So, this is him. All right. Dennoriss Richardson says about 8 months after a Black man filed a police brutality lawsuit against an Alabama police department, he was found hanging by rope. Is it a coincidence? His family doesn't think so. On Wednesday of October 9th, 6 days ago, attorney Roderick Van Daniel filed a motion demanding that the Sheffield Police Department hand over body camera and video related to an interaction between 38-year-old Dennoriss Richardson and several officers from earlier this year. Says the filing is part of a February civil lawsuit alleging Richardson was subject to unconstitutional arrest and violence at the hand of local officers, despite him being disabled. The suit claims Richardson was being harassed by the department from November to December of 2022. So let's move on. It says, according to the incidents, the suit claims that officers viciously beat Richardson, compromised his asthma by spraying mace in his face, and denied him food while he was detained inside a jail cell. In one incident, the suit claimed one of the officers yelled, "Nobody can help you," at Richardson while he was strapped to a chair where he had been restrained for 3 hours. After most interactions, the suit claims Richardson was falsely charged with assault. You know, when we talk about defunding the police, it's not talking about how we just want to get police away. We just want to get rid of them. And then people are committing atrocities left and right without any type of law enforcement whatsoever. We who say defund the police, we actually believe in real public safety. Part of that public safety means getting goons and thugs with badges and guns out of our faces so that we can actually live. Story. As Richardson's wife, Leanne, tells AL.com that the Sheffield police harassed him his whole life. By the time he filed the lawsuit, the cops had just arrested him again for on-drug charges. Richardson's wife alleged that they offered to drop the charges if he dropped the suit. Richardson refused. Hang on. He was suing them. And they tried to get him to drop the charges, to drop the suit, if they dropped it. Let's continue. It says, however, his determination for justice may have just been a grisly overshadowing of what would come of Richardson months later. He was found dead. Richardson's wife told AL.com he was let out on probation following the arrest, but decided to turn himself in after learning he would have to serve his across the country, forcing him to move from his 5 children. She told reporters after he left the house, she stopped hearing from him. On September 26, Richardson was reported missing. 2 days later, Richardson was found dead. He was hanging by a rope on the porch of an abandoned home near the Mississippi line, where his family said he had no business being, according to a court filing. Richardson's family still haven't received his death certificate. The filing said, however, the autopsy ordered by the Colbert County District Attorney's Office ruled his death a suicide. Quote, we spoke to a family members that said that the last time they had spoken to Mr. Richardson, he had been depressed, worried about his future as far as the charges he was looking at. He was just down and out. He was giving some of his property away. It appeared to be an apparent suicide. That was from Sheriff Eric Ballantyne. Do you believe that? No, I don't believe. I don't believe that story that Ballantyne has given, and so this is one of the reasons why we have to give this an update. So that gives you the overall synopsis of what has happened in regards to Dennoriss Richardson. So, of course, he has been harassed by police. He tried to sue the police. And then, because of his issues involving police and the law, he becomes depressed. That's reasonable, natural reaction, right? And so, therefore, it's like he ends up going missing and winding up dead because he wouldn't drop the suit. Now, I still think down to this day that is foul play. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that there was foul play. Because how are you going to say that a black man decided to hang himself from a porch or a tree, and how does a black American man decide to self-harm himself in that way? No. There's many other different ways he could have done that, which I do not condone at all. If you are feeling any way of harming yourself, I reckon please, do what you can to, get some type of help. I know the medical system isn't as favorable to people with mental illness as much as possible as they should be. But if you can, get some help. But a black American man, I don't believe that he would go out that way. I just don't. No. Black Americans in the chat, do you think that a black American man or woman, what have you, would choose to harm themselves in that particular fashion? Knowing our history, do we look like Boo Boo the Fool? So there was this update. Let's go into the update, this article here. So it says 2 autopsies for black man found hanging in Alabama produced differing conclusions. Let's go over this article. So this is about Dennoriss Richardson. This is out of Montgomery. It says the state autopsy has ruled that a black man found hanging in an abandoned Alabama home in late September died by suicide. A conclusion that contradicts a private autopsy commissioned by his family, which found no definitive evidence he died by suicide. Let's stop there for 1 second. This shows you what the family was thinking. They literally had to get a private autopsy done because they didn't believe a damn word that the state-sponsored autopsy had said. I wouldn't have either. That was a smart thing. Get a private autopsy done. And if they're coming to a different conclusion, well, there's something there. There's something going on. There's something afoot. Let's continue. It says Dennoriss Richardson's body was discovered in September in a rural Colbert County, far from his home in Sheffield, Alabama, a small town of nearly 10,000 nestled along the Tennessee River. A state autopsy released to law enforcement in late December ruled the 39-year-old's death a suicide. Right? That was from Sheriff Ballantyne. Despite the state's official findings, the case has sparked intense suspicion and outcry in the community, along with a long history of racial injustice and deep-seated distrust of local law enforcement. Ballantyne called for an FBI investigation into Richardson's death in October. Richardson was one of numerous black men who had recently filed federal civil rights lawsuit against local law enforcement alleging a pattern of abuse. And this is not unusual, because the pattern of abuse, of brutality by the police happens so often that to us, we expect it as black people. So if it's expected, that means among some groups it's accepted. So when people go, oh, you guys think you're oppressed? Yes, we are. But you guys accept us being oppressed so much that you think it's normal and you think it's not oppression. When in reality it is. Because let that happen to a white person, and next thing you know, people lose their damn mind. or they don't lose their mind at all and they just move on with their life. So let's continue. It says Valentine said that the most recent report confirmed what the preliminary autopsy found. It says they get those preliminary results back pretty quick. We had those within a week. It's taken 3 months to get the official report back. Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences did not immediately provide a copy of the autopsy, which is classified as public information, unless there's a pending investigation into the death. Lee Richardson, Dennoriss Richardson's wife, has not seen the official document and maintains that she does not believe her husband killed himself. The sheriff's department has been saying he committed suicide from the beginning within 5 days of investigation. This is why we're fighting for the truth. This has not been easy by any means. However, we know that Nana didn't kill himself. Here's the thing. The sheriff's department's like, oh, well, he offed himself. When in reality, how are you going to say that? And it's like, well, apparently he did it himself. I don't believe it. Black American. In the South? No. Mm-mm. No, we're not going to do that. No. And so I'm just as suspicious as his wife is. It continues here. It says a private autopsy released to Richardson's lawyer in late December said that a thorough and meticulous investigation should be carried out to rule out staged suicide. The private autopsy conducted by forensic pathologist Dr. Adele Shakur affirmed the state's findings that Dennoriss Richardson died from asphyxia secondary to neck compression, which is consistent with hanging. But the report noted that the hyoid neck bone, which is sometimes fractured in deaths from hanging and strangulation, wasn't present when Shakur examined the body. Shaker examined the body. Shaker said this report made it impossible for him to determine whether Richardson was killed or committed suicide. The hyoid bone doesn't always offer conclusive evidence about the manner of death. However, according to forensic pathologist Dr. Thomas Andrew, who has worked in the field for over 40 years. You cannot opine on manner of death based on the hyoid bone alone. The hyoid bone breaks in approximately a quarter of all hangings and half of all strangulations. Instead, the manner of death determined is based largely on evidentiary and circumstantial information. Andrew said that it was his standard practice to remove the hyoid bone in cases like Richardson, and that he would only give it to private pathologists performing secondary autopsies upon request. Richardson did not have any bodily injuries except for on his neck, and his toxicology report was normal. Andrew said that those were important observations. It says in the report, Shaker said that it was impossible to conclude how Richardson died without photographs of where his body was found or the rope that killed him. Neither were provided with the body, according to Shaker. Here's my question. Why wasn't the pictures taken? Typically, in homicide investigations, one of the first things they do before they touch anything is they take pictures. They take photos of everything that has happened right there. The murder weapon, the situation, all of it, all the carnage. Some of y'all who watch a lot of CSI you guys are scratching your head right now. You guys are like, this something don't look right. Why weren't there photos of the entire scene so that we know exactly what happened, so we can triangulate and guess exactly what exactly happened? Why are we taking the word of police when we don't have photos to show, okay, so this is what happened, see? You know what I'm saying? Man, I'm telling you, it doesn't smell right. Roderick Van Daniel, the attorney who represented Dennoriss Richardson in his civil rights lawsuit against the Sheffield Police Department, said he does not have photos of the scene. He says this whole investigation is suspicious. Says the family and community are tired of the evasive answers and the lies being told to them. In November, approximately 100 people marched from City Hall through the quiet streets of Sheffield onto the neighboring city, Tuscumbia, where the county sheriff's department is located, to demand transparency from law enforcement. We can't continue to allow the same thing to continue to happen over and over and over. We not stand up and do something about it. Says the march was not just about seeking answers, but about securing a future where in our minds and bodies are valued and heard and safe. That was from a social worker in Sheffield named Trenda Owens. Now, of course, it says Sheriff Billington called for a federal investigation to Richardson's death following public outcry. The FBI investigation is still ongoing. A spokesperson from the FBI declined to comment on the pending investigation. So this is the point. Two different results from autopsy reports. What do you think? Do you think that the first result from the autopsy was correct? Or do you think the second one? Something tells me somebody did something to this man. I think here's my prediction. It wasn't a police officer that actually did something, but it was somebody racist that did something, and the police know exactly who it is, and they're covering up for that person. They know who it is, but they're covering up. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I could be completely way off. But knowing what I know and knowing the history of my people, of American freedmen, and what we've been through in this country, can you blame me? Here you have a disabled black man that has had trouble time and time and again with law enforcement. And then he winds up dead, hanging on a porch of an abandoned house. And of course the house is abandoned. Two autopsies. Two different conclusions. If you go to a doctor and you get a second opinion, and the second opinion is different from the first, that means there's no actual confirmation of what the original doctor stated. There's no original diagnosis confirmation of what the doctor stated. That means there's no peer-reviewed consensus in stating, oh, well, yeah, of course, this guy, he died of asphyxiation due to hanging. No. So, and you know what, I'm gonna be honest with you. The FBI may solve the case. They may. But do I trust them? No. I don't trust any law enforcement in this country. Just look at our history and you'll know why. I don't trust any one of them. But is it going to harm them if they do solve it? Maybe not. But I still don't trust them. But I'm going to keep, following this story. That's the update I wanted to bring to you guys. But this is why we talk about, wanting to create a brand new system, a real system of public safety. Because when things keep happening like this, you realize that we are the public and we're not safe. And like I said, if they're going to do it to us, they're going to do it to you. So if this is going to keep happening to us, it's only a matter of time for those of you who are not in marginalized groups where it's going to be happening to you. Where we're found dead hanging from a tree or a porch or something. So the best takeaway I can tell you is, we are the canaries in the coal mine. And if this keeps happening to us, this is why it behooves us to change the system now so it doesn't happen to more people. I think that's the lesson we should take from this. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.